There is a kind of failure that is hard to recognize because the person failing has many reasons to believe success is inevitable. They are smart, learn quickly, understand complex ideas, yet their bank account is nearly empty and their debt remains. They understand investing and the economy, but cannot control their own spending and keep waiting for one bigger opportunity. Remember this: intelligence does not automatically create wealth. It only helps a person see more options. What they choose, repeat, and build is what ultimately determines their financial future. Today's story is about Alex, once considered the smartest person in his group of friends, yet also the one who regularly had to borrow money before payday. He could advise everyone else, but could not solve his own financial problems. Alex is 32 and works in sales for an equipment distribution company in Chicago. He had always learned quickly. He was never the student who studied 10 hours a day, but he could understand most things after reading them a few times. In college, he spoke confidently, debated fast, connected ideas well, and often explained difficult lessons to his classmates before exams. After graduation, Alex found a job quickly. His first role was ordinary, but he advanced faster than many people his age. Within a few years, he was earning above average. He communicated well, understood customers, handled pressure, and knew how to make people feel they were speaking with someone highly capable. From the outside, Alex looked like someone who was certain to succeed financially. But the reality was completely different. Alex was paid on the 5th of every month. During the first week, he spent freely, treated friends to dinner, bought new things, and subscribed to services he believed would improve his life. By the second week, he slowed down. By the third, he checked his balance constantly. In the final days of the month, he often relied on credit cards, borrowed from friends, or delayed bills. This did not happen for 1 month. It repeated for years. Alex's monthly income rose from about $3,500 to $5,000, then $7,000, and eventually above $8,500. Yet the amount left at the end of the month barely changed. At $3,500, he believed $5,000 would be enough. At $5,000, he believed $7,000 would make life comfortable. Even above $8,500, he still felt short of money. The problem was not his income. The problem was his system for using money. For years, Alex refused to admit that. When he bought an expensive phone, he called it a work tool. When he financed a car beyond his means, he said image mattered in sales. When he spent heavily on networking dinners, he called it relationship building. When he bought a course and never finished it, he said the knowledge would still be there later. When his credit card balance grew, he called it a temporary cash flow issue. Alex never lacked explanations. He lacked results. This is a common mistake among quick thinkers. They use intelligence to justify behavior instead of using it to change behavior. A less analytical person may look at an empty account and simply cut spending. A smart person can create 10 convincing reasons why every purchase was necessary. They do not feel they are consuming. They feel they are investing in themselves, their image, their opportunities, and their future. But many so-called investments are only consumption with a better name. Alex followed content about finance, business, and investing. He could discuss inflation, interest rates, cash flow, assets, liabilities, and economic cycles. He knew he needed an emergency fund and understood compound growth. He knew consumer debt was dangerous. But that knowledge existed in his mind, not in his bank account. This is the gap between knowing and doing. Knowledge creates value only when it becomes action. Action creates results only when it is repeated. Repetition lasts only when the system is simple enough to maintain. Alex had knowledge, but no system. Every time he tried to change, he built a plan that was too complicated. He downloaded several budgeting apps, created dozens of categories, set extreme savings goals, and promised to avoid restaurants, shopping, and entertainment for 3 months. Within 1 or 2 weeks, the plan collapsed. Then Alex concluded that detailed money management simply did not suit him. In reality, he did not fail because he lacked ability. He failed because his system demanded too much willpower. Smart people often prefer complicated solutions because complexity feels impressive. But personal finance is rarely transformed by a spreadsheet with endless formulas. It is usually transformed by a few simple rules followed for a long time. The turning point came near the end of the year. Alex's company announced a restructuring, Several teams faced layoffs, and his year-end bonus was cut sharply. At the same time, his car suffered a major breakdown that would cost about $8,000 to repair. Alex opened his banking app. His checking account had a little over $550. His savings were almost non-existent. His credit card was near the limit, his auto loan remained, and several installment payments were due. For the first time, Alex clearly understood that the ability to earn money was not the same as the ability to survive a crisis. He could make more than $8,500 a month, yet could not handle an unexpected expense equal to 1 month of income. That evening, Alex called Ryan, an old college friend. Ryan had never seemed as impressive and earned less, but he owned a modest condo, had an emergency fund, carried no consumer debt, and invested consistently every month. Alex used to think Ryan was too cautious and did not know how to enjoy money. But when trouble arrived, the man Alex considered less flexible had more choices. Ryan asked only one question. If your income stopped tomorrow for 6 months, how long could you maintain your current life? Alex went silent. The honest answer was less than 1 month. Ryan then asked, "What have you used your intelligence to build all these years?" The question hurt because it exposed the issue Alex had avoided. Alex had used intelligence to increase income, build an image, expand his network, and create opportunities, but not to build a financial foundation. He had constructed the second and third floors while the first floor remained unfinished. Many young adults make the same mistake. They focus only on earning more, but never learn to keep, allocate, and protect what they earn. A leaking cup becomes empty, whether you pour in 1 gallon or 10. A higher income cannot repair a leaking financial system. It only makes the leaks larger. After talking with Ryan, Alex reviewed 6 months of transactions, not to blame himself, but to study the data. The results surprised him. No single purchase had destroyed his finances. Money disappeared through hundreds of small charges: coffee, takeout, delivery fees, online shopping, subscriptions, unnecessary meetings, discount purchases, impulsive trips, and installment plans that made expensive decisions feel small. One common mistake among young adults is believing that being able to make the monthly payment means being able to afford the purchase. But a small monthly payment does not prove affordability. Installments reduce the pain of paying, but not the true cost. They also take future income before that future arrives. When someone has too many installment payments, next month's paycheck is already divided before it is received. Alex realized nearly 40% of his income had a destination the moment it entered his account: the car loan, installments, credit cards, subscriptions, and fixed commitments. He was not poor because he earned too little. He was poor because too much of his future income had already been sold. Alex began building a new system, simple, practical, and independent of motivation. His first rule was to pay his future before paying for his lifestyle. Previously, he spent first and saved whatever remained. Almost nothing ever remained. Now, as soon as he was paid, money automatically moved to an emergency fund and debt repayment before the rest was available for living expenses. This was not a small trick. It changed the order of priorities. Saving what is left is an intention. Saving before spending is a system. Alex began with 10% of income, not 50%. The amount was modest but sustainable. His second rule was to distinguish between assets that create value and purchases that only create an image. Alex once believed an expensive car made him look successful, but it did not generate enough additional income to offset the loan, fuel, maintenance, insurance, and depreciation. Comfort has value, but comfort should not automatically be called an investment. An expense should be called an investment only when it has a clear mechanism for increasing income, reducing costs, improving capability, or protecting future assets. A course can be an investment only when it is completed, applied, and converted into useful skill. Buying books does not automatically create knowledge, just as buying workout equipment does not create health. Alex reviewed the courses he had purchased and realized he often bought knowledge to feel productive without actually making progress. This is another common mistake, confusing content consumption with skill development. Watching a video about investing is not investing. Listening to a podcast about discipline is not living with discipline. Saving an article about budgeting is not managing money. Understanding feels rewarding, but only action creates change. Alex stopped buying courses for 6 months. Instead, he chose one skill directly connected to his job, Sales data analysis. Every day, he spent 45 minutes learning and practicing with real company data. After 3 months, Alex built an analysis showing that one high revenue customer segment produced weak profit margins. His recommendation helped the sales team revise discount policies and improve profitability. For the first time, he understood the difference between knowledge that sounds impressive and knowledge that earns money. Display knowledge helps someone sound smarter. Productive knowledge solves valuable problems. His third rule was not to upgrade his lifestyle immediately after earning more. 6 months later, Alex received a raise and bonus. His old reaction would have been a new phone, new clothes, or a trip. This time, he kept his lifestyle unchanged for 3 months. He divided the additional income into 3 parts: high interest debt, the emergency fund, and a skill that could support future income. This was one of the most important moments in his financial transformation. A raise temporarily creates distance between earning power and lifestyle. If that distance is preserved, assets begin to grow. If lifestyle rises immediately, the distance disappears. Many young adults do not truly become wealthier when income increases. They simply become a more expensive version of themselves, moving to a better apartment, buying a newer car, eating at more expensive restaurants, and upgrading every device, while still needing next month's paycheck to pay for last month. Upgrading lifestyle is not always wrong. The problem is speed. When expenses rise as fast as income, a person creates more obligations, not more freedom. Alex adopted a rule. Whenever income increased, at least half of the increase had to become assets or reduce debt. The other half could improve his life. The rule did not make life miserable. It allowed him to enjoy progress without sacrificing his entire future. His fourth rule was to measure wealth by how long he could live without new income, not only by salary. Alex once compared himself through titles, cars, phones, clothes, and travel, but none of those revealed net worth, debt, or resilience. One person may drive a beautiful car, but be unable to survive 3 months without work. Another may live simply, but own enough assets to leave a toxic job. The first may look richer, but the second has more choices. And choice is the most important product money can buy. Money can buy time to think, the ability to rest, the right to say no, the option to leave a bad environment, and calm when a crisis occurs. Once Alex understood this, he no longer viewed an emergency fund as idle cash. He saw it as a safety zone. After 8 months, his fund covered nearly 2 months of essential expenses. It was not large, but for the first time in years, he did not panic at the thought of restructuring. After 12 months, Alex paid off his entire credit card balance. He did not feel the intense excitement of buying something new, but he felt lighter. Consumption often creates strong but brief pleasure. Paying off debt and building savings create quieter but longer-lasting peace. Because the brain favors immediate rewards, we often choose a visible purchase over an invisible future. That is why managing money is not only arithmetic, it is behavior. Alex also challenged the belief that young people should enjoy life now and save later. Experiences matter, but many people use the word enjoyment to hide the absence of a plan. Intentional enjoyment is different from emotional consumption. A trip funded in advance, free of debt, and aligned with financial goals can be valuable. A trip charged to a credit card that forces 3 months of cutbacks is not enjoyment. It is borrowing happiness from the future. Being young is not a reason to ignore money. Youth is exactly when time and compound growth are most powerful. A dollar invested at 25 has far more time to grow than a dollar invested at 40. Yet many people delay because small amounts seem meaningless. They believe investing should begin only after they have a lot of money. In reality, people with limited income need to learn early. A small monthly investment will not create instant wealth, but it builds habits, experience, and emotional tolerance. When income rises, a person with a system can scale investing. A person without a system usually scales consumption. Alex started with a small monthly amount. He did not chase fast returns, double your money promises, or borrowed money. He focused on understanding the investment, diversifying, staying long-term, and using only money he would not need soon. Alex once believed intelligence would help him discover superior opportunities. He liked the feeling of seeing what others missed. But after reviewing past decisions, he realized intelligence can easily create overconfidence. Smart people often believe they can predict better exit at the right time, and control risk more effectively than others. Markets do not pay for confidence. A person can be right about a long-term trend and still lose by paying too much, using excessive leverage, or being forced to sell during a decline. Alex changed his questions. Instead of asking how much an opportunity could rise, he asked how much he could lose if wrong. Instead of asking how much others had earned, he asked which risks were being ignored. Instead of asking how to get rich quickly, he asked how to avoid being removed from the game. This was a shift from chasing return to managing risk. In finance, the person who survives for a long time often has an advantage over the person who wins big briefly. After 18 months, Alex's situation had changed clearly. Income was higher, consumer debt was gone, the emergency fund covered 4 months of essentials, and he had a small but consistent investment portfolio. More importantly, money no longer felt like water passing through his hands without direction. The greatest change was not numerical. It was how Alex viewed himself. He had once used the label smart to protect his ego. Whenever results were poor, he blamed low salary, bad timing, difficult markets, family background, or an employer that failed to recognize him. Some of those explanations were partly true, but an explanation that does not lead to action becomes a shelter. Alex accepted a more mature truth. He could be intelligent and undisciplined, knowledgeable and inexperienced, good at earning and bad at managing. Admitting weakness did not reduce his value. It opened the door to change. This is an important lesson for many young adults. Do not turn intelligence into an untouchable identity. When people are too attached to appearing smart, they fear looking inexperienced. They avoid beginner steps, simple questions, honest uncertainty, and patient work. Personal finance does not reward the person who looks smartest. It rewards the person who follows sound principles long enough. People who build lasting wealth are not always the most intelligent. They are often the ones who delay gratification, control risk, keep expenses below income, invest consistently, and do not destroy their system during emotional moments. Alex also changed his social environment. Many gatherings had become competitions over cars, phones, trips, titles, and companies. Every conversation quietly turned into a contest of appearances. When exposed to that environment for too long, people spend not because they need something, but because they fear falling behind. Alex did not abandon his friends, but stopped entering endless status contests. He proposed simpler activities, used clear budgets, and spent more time with people focused on health, skills, work, and long-term plans. Environment does not fully determine behavior, but it makes certain behaviors easier. Constant exposure to luxury posts makes an ordinary life feel inadequate. Regular conversations with disciplined people make planning feel normal. Alex learned that protecting his finances also meant protecting his attention. He reduced shopping content, unfollowed accounts that triggered comparison, disabled retail notifications, and applied a 72-hour waiting rule to non-essential purchases. After the waiting period, most desires disappeared. Many buying decisions were not real needs. They came from boredom, pressure, insecurity, or the desire for a quick reward. When the emotion fades, the item and the payment remain, while financial goals move farther away. You do not need to remove all enjoyment, but name each expense honestly. Consumption is consumption. Entertainment is entertainment. Do not call everything an investment to avoid guilt. Honesty with money matters more than any budgeting technique. After 2 years, Alex received an offer from another company with a much higher salary, but the role brought long hours, intense pressure, and a highly competitive culture. In the past, he would have accepted immediately because of the title and pay. This time, he evaluated the full picture. He considered time, health, learning, stability, and future opportunities. He eventually chose another position with slightly lower pay, but better long-term fit and enough flexibility to maintain a small consulting project. This was the power of a financial foundation. Without savings and while carrying heavy debt, a person must often accept any job that pays immediately. With a stronger foundation, they can evaluate the quality of an opportunity, not only the paycheck. Money did not make Alex independent from work. It helped him avoid making decisions in panic. This is not a story about becoming a millionaire overnight. There was no miracle, secret investment, or life-changing lottery ticket. It is the story of an intelligent man who stopped using intelligence as an excuse and began using it to design his life. If you understand a lot but your finances are not improving, examine results, not intentions, knowledge, or old plans. Check assets, debt, cash flow, emergency savings, savings rate, and how long you could live if income stopped. Numbers do not insult you, they describe your current position. First, list every asset and debt. Include small installments. Do not treat a credit limit as your money. Do not value consumer goods at their original purchase price. Look at real value and real obligations. Second, track spending for at least 30 days. The goal is not self-blame. It is to find leaks. You cannot control what you cannot see. Third, automatically transfer part of every paycheck to an emergency fund. Start with 5 or 10% or any amount you can sustain. Fourth, prioritize high-interest debt. Do not carry expensive consumer debt while chasing risky returns. Uncertain gains should not be used to fight guaranteed interest costs. Fifth, build a marketable skill. Do not study only to feel productive. Create a product, project, report, or measurable result. Sixth, when income rises, do not upgrade your entire lifestyle. Preserve part of the gap between income and expenses. That gap becomes assets. Seventh, invest only through principles you understand, using long-term money, diversification, risk control, and no borrowed money. Eighth, measure progress through choices. How long can you stop working? Can you absorb an emergency? Can you reject a bad opportunity? Can you support family when needed? Finally, do not let praise for being smart become a trap. Intelligence is a tool, not a result. A powerful engine without direction can move quickly in the wrong direction. Knowledge without discipline can create increasingly sophisticated excuses for staying the same. You do not need to be the smartest person in the room. You need to keep promises to your future. Save part of every paycheck. Improve one skill each year. Examine risk before major decisions, and turn part of every raise into assets. Repeated long enough, ordinary actions reduce dependence on luck. Wealth rarely appears in one dramatic moment. It is built on ordinary days when no one is watching, when you reject an unnecessary purchase, finish a course instead of merely buying it, fund savings before spending, resist lifestyle inflation, and choose a slower path you can sustain. Alex once believed he needed one major opportunity. What changed his life was hundreds of small decisions guided by consistent principles. 2 years did not make Alex the richest person in his group. But he no longer borrowed before payday, feared every car repair, used appearance to prove his value, or believed a high income could replace a sound financial system. He became calmer, freer, and more capable of choosing. That is the real beginning of wealth. Thank you for watching Smart But Still Broke on Financial Tutor. If this story showed you that knowledge matters only when converted into action, subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us for the next video. Share this video with someone who is smart and hardworking, but still feels money slipping through their hands. They may not need another income opportunity. They may need to see the weaknesses in the way they currently use money. Leave a comment below. What is holding your finances back? Inadequate income, uncontrolled spending, consumer debt, or delaying the creation of a system? Treat your answer as the beginning of a new decision. You may be intelligent, talented, and capable of understanding difficult ideas, but your financial future is not determined by what you know. It is determined by what you do consistently when no one is watching, praising, or offering an immediate reward. Intelligence can help you earn money, but principles help you keep it. Discipline helps it grow, and the right system turns today's income into tomorrow's freedom.